Before the world takes shape, it waits, not in noise, not in form, but in stillness. Reality isn't something handed to you. It's something you call into being with the direction of your gaze. We move through life believing our circumstances are fixed, our stories, our struggles, our identities. But what if none of it is set in stone? What if your world is simply a reflection of where your attention lives? The mind, when left untended, drifts outward, chasing noise, chasing people, chasing approval. And in that endless pursuit, we forget the one place we were meant to return to, ourselves. The more you search for validation out there, the more disconnected you become from the voice within. The more you try to fix the external, the more scattered your inner world becomes. But there is another way, a quieter path. One that begins the moment you stop reacting and start witnessing. Not to escape, but to remember. Because everything you've been looking for is already inside, waiting for you to turn inward. This is where your power begins. In this video, we'll explore how a single shift in attention can reshape your life. You'll discover powerful Buddhist insights, emotional clarity, and the quiet strength that comes from inner mastery. And stay until the end. There's a bonus lesson you won't want to miss. This isn't just theory. This is about coming home to yourself, reclaiming your focus, reclaiming your life. Before we begin, take a deep breath, and if these words resonate, let us know in the comments by typing, "My focus creates reality." And don't forget to subscribe to Deepest Wisdom, where every video opens a doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless insight you won't find anywhere else. 1. The quiet power of not chasing. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the noise of chasing fades, and in that pause something strange happens. The world softens. But most people never reach that silence. We've been conditioned to run, to chase love, success, timing, and approval, as if the life we long for is always just one step ahead. But the more we chase, the further it drifts, like fog dissolving as we reach for it, or water slipping through trembling fingers. This is the nature of clinging. The more tightly we grasp, the more reality pulls away, not to punish us, but to teach us. What we chase with desperation, we drive into the distance. What we hold too tightly, we break. Buddhist wisdom echoes this softly through time. That attachment is the root of suffering. And when the things we cling to disappear, we call it loss. But perhaps it's not loss at all. Perhaps it's the universe gently folding our hands back into stillness, whispering, "Return home." There is a story of a seeker who asked the Buddha, "Why does everything I love eventually leave me?" The Buddha replied, "Because your love is entangled in attachment, not illuminated by awareness. To chase is to believe you are not whole. It is to tell life, I am incomplete without this." But when you turn inward, when you begin to nurture the quiet flame within, something remarkable happens. Life begins to respond, not to your effort, but to your energy. This is the illusion of chasing, the belief that peace lives outside of you, waiting to be earned. But the truth is quieter. You do not call in peace by running toward it. You become peace. And in doing so, the world softens around you. So pause, take a breath, unclench your hands, let go of all the stories that say you must fight, prove, or earn your worth. What would it feel like to simply be, without the pressure to change, fix, or chase? In that stillness, clarity arises. You were never broken, only distracted by the noise of wanting. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that keeps slipping away? Why do I believe I must run to deserve love, or joy, or peace? Every time you abandon yourself in pursuit of something out there, the world reflects that emptiness back to you. But when you choose presence over pursuit, everything changes. You carry a quiet power that does not need to force or beg, because it already is. This is not detachment nor indifference. In Buddhism, it is called non-attachment, an inner freedom that allows you to love deeply without gripping tightly. It is knowing that your presence is enough, that the world does not bow to your struggle, but to your stillness. And when you finally turn inward with full attention, life begins to shift. Not because you chase something down, but because your stillness became magnetic. You attract not by needing, but by being. You become a mirror of peace, and the world responds in kind. So remember, the world is your reflection. Heal the root, and the image changes. Master the self, and the world aligns. As the sky quiets and the sun slips beyond the edge of day, hold this close. You were never meant to chase the world. You were meant to awaken and let it come to you. Lesson 2. The mirror within you. There is a brief golden space just before reaction takes hold, where silence is still possible. In that pause, before the anger, the defense, the flare of ego, there is a doorway, a moment where power lives quietly. The world may provoke, scream, insult, or misunderstand you, but the one who does not flinch, who breathes instead of burns, becomes the anchor in the storm. That is not weakness. That is mastery. Every time we react, we scatter pieces of ourselves into the world, like leaves caught in wind we did not choose. But when we turn inward instead of outward, when we witness the moment instead of becoming it, our energy returns to us, and slowly, quietly, life begins to shift. Not because the outer world changed, but because we did. We are taught to believe that control lies outside of us, in fixing others, in arguing louder, in shaping the world with force. But Buddhism teaches otherwise. The true source of influence lies within. Your inner state is what shapes your outer experience. Just as a still pond mirrors the sky without distortion, a still mind reflects life as it truly is. When the mind is turbulent, everything feels wrong. But a calm mind brings clarity, even in the midst of chaos. The world doesn't calm you. You calm the world by becoming still enough to see through it. And so, self-focus is not selfishness. It is sacred awareness. The moment you begin observing yourself with care and compassion, you begin to understand peace was never about controlling the noise. It was about not becoming it. Next time something triggers you, a harsh word, a sudden delay, a wave of fear, don't react, don't speak, just breathe. 1 breath, 2, 3, in, outside, in, outside. Let the storm pass through. Let it move across the vast sky of your awareness, because you are not the storm, you are the sky. Then ask yourself gently, what part of me is reacting? Is it the wounded child, the prideful ego, the frightened voice I never comforted, and deeper still, what part of me can simply watch, without judgment, without resistance? That part, the one who watches quietly, that is you, the real you, unshaken, clear, wise. And from that still point within, your choices become sacred. You no longer repeat patterns, you respond with presence. Buddhism doesn't ask you to suppress or escape. It invites you to witness, to see clearly without drowning. The one who sees without being pulled becomes the calm eye in the storm. They walk through fire, untouched by its flames. As you return to your breath, to your center, the chaos around you begins to lose its grip. You stop being a puppet to emotion. You become the master of stillness. And slowly, like rivers adjusting around a mountain, the world reshapes itself around your calm. So remember this: Your calm is not weakness, it's influence. Your breath is not small, it is sacred. And the next time life begs you to react, pause, breathe, let the mirror within reflect the truth. That's when everything begins to change. Lesson 3. The power of sacred stillness. There comes a moment when doing becomes heavy, when the noise of striving, proving, and fixing grows louder than your own breath. In that moment, stillness doesn't feel like avoidance. It feels like sanctuary. We live in a world obsessed with motion. We praise the hustle, glorify the grind, and fear silence as if it means we've failed. But Buddhist wisdom whispers a different truth. Stillness is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. It is not a void but a vessel where life flows in its own time, in its own way, with its own grace. There is a deeper rhythm to existence, one you can't force, one you can only feel when you stop chasing every desire and pause long enough to listen. You are not here to push the river. You are here to surrender to its current, to trust that it knows where it's going, even when you do not. The mind will insist. Do more, control everything, keep going. But the soul speaks softer. Be still, let go, just breathe. You've been taught your worth lies in how much you carry, how loud your struggle is. But the truth is quieter. A single candle does not shout, and yet the darkness yields to its glow. You don't have to rush to matter. You don't have to move fast to be on time. True power often looks like stillness, like someone who listens more than they speak, who waits until the heart is steady before they act, who knows the value of silence and doesn't fear it. Close your eyes, even for a moment. Imagine a quiet flame at the center of your chest. Steady, gentle, unshaken. That flame is your essence. It doesn't need to be loud to change the room. It simply needs space to burn. And when you protect that stillness within, the world around you begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Ask yourself quietly, what if stillness is not weakness, but wisdom? What if resting is not giving up, but finally trusting life's timing? So often we try to bloom before we're rooted. We try to fix what only silence can heal. But sacred stillness teaches us the patience to wait, the courage to not know, the grace to simply be. Buddhism invites us to step back, not in defeat, but in faith, to stop grasping at time and instead flow with it. Because when you are deeply still, life begins to move around you, like water adjusting to the presence of a stone. The people, the answers, the clarity, they arrive not when you chase them, but when you create the space for them to enter. So rest, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Be still, not because you've lost hope, but because you finally trust. The flame inside you knows the way. And in that sacred stillness, without forcing anything at all, everything begins to unfold. Lesson 4. The noise that numbs the soul. There is a kind of silence that doesn't just hush the world. It wakes something ancient within you. In today's world, we rarely notice how loud life has become. The endless scroll of images, the barrage of opinions, the subtle pressure to keep performing, comparing, reacting. It all blurs the shape of who we truly are, and then we wonder why we feel lost, why clarity never comes. But the truth is simple. When the noise fades, the truth begins to speak. And to hear that truth, you must first step out of the storm. Withdrawing from the noise is not weakness. It is a sacred act of remembering, like a monk leaving behind the chaos of the market to find stillness in the mountains. You too are invited to walk away, not to escape life, but to return to what is real beneath it. The danger of constant stimulation isn't just distraction, it is disconnection. Every time you look to the outer world for your value, your voice within grows fainter. And that voice is sacred. It will not compete with the noise. It waits in the quiet, behind your habits, behind the performance. The more you consume, the more you forget. The more you listen to everyone else, the more your own wisdom fades. That is why Buddhism teaches peace isn't found by fixing the outer world, but by tuning into the silence within. Focus on yourself, not from selfishness, but because the answers you're seeking do not live in the crowd. They rise only in stillness, in breath, in present attention. So try this. Put the phone down just for an hour. Not to be productive, but to be alive. Go outside, walk without a goal, sit beneath a tree. Listen, not to voices, not to podcasts, not to messages, but to life itself. To the wind brushing through leaves, to the beat of your heart, to the still rhythm beneath it all. At first, the silence might feel strange, even uncomfortable. But if you sit with it, it will begin to speak. And what it reveals will feel like something you forgot you lost. Your truth, your softness, your clarity. Ask yourself gently, what noise have I accepted as normal that is robbing me of my peace? Is it the pressure to always reply, the fear of missing out, the addiction to knowing what others think? Not all prisons have walls, some have Wi-Fi, and freedom begins the moment you turn your gaze inward. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that clarity is not something we find. It is what remains when illusion fades, and illusion is loud. But truth is still. The world will always shout. It will always offer distractions, comparisons, and opinions. But your liberation won't come from silencing the world. It will come from choosing not to let it shape you. Be like the monk who climbs higher. Not to run away, but to see with clear eyes. Every step into silence is a return to your center. And when you choose presence over performance, clarity over consumption, inner focus over outer chaos, everything begins to change. The world may still spin, but inside you, something quiet and eternal begins to rise. And that changes everything. Lesson 5. The power of solitary focus. There is a quiet revolution that begins the very moment you stop waiting. Waiting for someone to apologize, waiting for the right moment, the perfect words, the world to understand you. But what if the healing you crave doesn't come from the outside at all? What if it begins the moment you stop reaching outward and start tending inward? Tend your own soil and watch how life begins to bloom. This is the hidden strength of solitary focus. You are not broken. You are simply exhausted from pouring your energy into places that never knew how to nourish you. You've been seeking light in mirrors when all along the fire was within. In Buddhist wisdom, we learn that clarity is not something we get from the world. It is something we cultivate in silence. When you focus on your own roots, your own breath, your own path, everything slowly begins to align. Not because others have changed, but because you have. The moment you stop chasing validation and begin honoring your own stillness, a different kind of life begins to grow. Quiet, strong, and deeply true. Close your eyes and imagine sitting alone, not to withdraw, but to return. To come home to the part of you that doesn't need to prove, perform, or pretend. This is not escape. This is sacred reclamation. The energy you once spent blaming, doubting, and explaining, let it now flow inward, toward healing, toward understanding, toward peace. In this stillness, the truth begins to surface. The wounds you hid, the fears you carried, the questions you buried beneath noise and distraction, you begin to see them, not with judgment, but with love. And in this gentle seeing, the healing begins, not with a grand event, but with small, soft awakenings. Take 10 minutes today, just 10, and write. Not for anyone else, not to be wise or profound. Write for the part of you that has been waiting to be heard. Ask yourself honestly, where am I hurting? Where am I healing? What have I been waiting for someone else to fix that I can begin to nurture within myself? That question alone holds power. Because when you truly begin focusing inward, you no longer need to control the world to feel safe. You realize that peace was never outside. It was always in your presence, in your awareness, in your quiet return to yourself. This is not isolation, this is sacred restoration, a turning of your energy inward, not to hide from life, but to root deeper into it. And from this grounding, everything begins to shift. You stop needing to be rescued. You become the source. And as the evening settles into stillness, let this truth settle into your heart. The world does not change when others finally see you. The world changes when you finally see yourself. Lesson 6. The energy loop. You are far more powerful than you've ever been told, not because of what you can control, but because of what you choose to notice. In this life, energy follows attention. Wherever your awareness lingers, life begins to grow. Like sunlight filtering through a forest, your presence nourishes whatever it touches. But if your light is scattered across past wounds, future fears, the endless moods of others, nothing flourishes. Your power doesn't vanish, it simply disperses. This is the energy loop, a cycle that begins with a simple truth. What you feed grows. The thoughts you return to, the feelings you replay, the people you center your mind around, they become the architecture of your reality. To change your life, you don't need to force anything. You need only to reclaim your gaze. Imagine a magnifying glass beneath the sun. The light is always there, but it only ignites fire when focused. You are the same. Your clarity, your transformation, your breakthrough. They are not waiting in some distant future. They are waiting at the edge of your focus. Bring your energy back from where it's been stolen, from the scroll, the comparison, the overthinking, and return it to the only place it can truly change you, the present moment. Try it now. Visualize your attention like a beam of light stretched across the noise of the world. Then gently, lovingly, draw it inward, away from what others expect, away from what didn't work out, away from the ache to be understood. Let it settle on your breath. In, outside, in, outside. Feel how, in that quiet, your strength returns. This is not just mindfulness. This is power. Ask yourself gently, what have I been unconsciously watering with my energy? Am I feeding fear without realizing it? Am I pouring light into stories that no longer reflect who I am? Buddhist wisdom reminds us that suffering often arises not from reality itself, but from where we place our mind. Two people may walk the same path. One sees only thorns, the other sees wildflowers. The difference is not the road, it is the focus. Your mind is a lens, and it will either magnify your pain or magnify your peace. So let your gaze become intentional. Turn inward. Focus on your breath, your healing, your quiet becoming. Let the world spin if it must, but you walk slowly, with presence. The world doesn't need more scattered thoughts. It needs souls who know how to hold their attention like a sacred flame. That flame, when steady, warms everything it touches. And so, remember this. Your attention is your life force. Guard it, gather it, guide it. When you focus on yourself, not from ego but from reverence, you don't force the universe to respond. You invite it to align. Lesson 7. Releasing the false identity. We spend so much of our lives performing, smiling when we're breaking inside, nodding in silence when our heart wants to speak. We bend, shift and reshape ourselves to fit the mold others expect, until one day we catch our reflection and no longer recognize the eyes staring back. We do it for love, for approval, to belong. But in that striving, we slowly begin to disappear. You wear masks to be accepted and then suffocate beneath them. This is the quiet heartbreak so many carry. The pain of someone they never chose, just to be enough for someone else. And yet beneath those layers, behind the roles and rehearsed smiles, a deeper truth waits patiently. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the beginning of the journey home. Not to the image you've maintained, but to the soul you've long forgotten. In Buddhist philosophy, the self we defend so fiercely is not the true self. It's a bundle of stories, built from fear, shaped by praise, wrapped in rejection, and polished by survival. But your essence, that lives untouched, like a pearl hidden under years of dust, it waits quietly for you to remember. And yet, we shrink. We pretend to be pebbles, hoping not to stand out, hoping not to be seen too closely. But peace does not come from pretending. It rises from remembering. The moment you turn inward with gentleness, not judgment, the masks begin to loosen, and the real you, the one who's been whispering beneath the noise, begins to breathe again. You don't owe anyone an edited version of your soul. The flower never asks permission to bloom. The moon does not apologize for being whole one night and hidden the next. Likewise, you are not here to comfort other people's expectations. You are here to be real. This return begins with awareness. When you give your attention back to yourself, you start to notice what parts feel authentic and what was borrowed just to survive. Try this small act of rebellion today. Spend one quiet hour with yourself, not for anyone else. Don't post it. Don't prove it. Just be. Walk under the sky. Paint. Dance in your room. Lie down and breathe. Whatever reminds you that you exist beyond performance. In that space, listen. What awakens in you? What sighs in relief when no one is watching? Then ask gently, which masks am I ready to remove? Is it the mask of strength that hides your need for rest? The mask of cheerfulness that muffles your grief? The mask of success that buries your silent ache to slow down? Yes, taking them off may feel raw, but rawness is real. And in that realness you begin to breathe again. That is where freedom truly begins. Buddhism reminds us that real liberation comes from within, and there's no greater freedom than living as your true self, unmasked, natural, and without fear. When you look within with quiet honesty, your life starts to soften. You stop reacting based on what others expect. Instead, you respond from who you really are. So, stay still, stay true, and keep this in mind. You were never here to impress the world. You were here to express your soul. The more you return to this truth, the more your life aligns, not with chaos, but with calm. Bonus lesson: becoming the center of your own world. At some point on this journey, you stop chasing and start coming back, not to a place, but to yourself. You begin to realize, maybe for the first time, that the peace you were searching for, the love you longed to feel, the clarity and sense of home you thought were out there, were never really far away. They were quietly waiting for you to return home. What you search for outside has always been softly waiting within. When you decide to become the center of your own world, not from pride but from a sacred sense of responsibility, everything begins to shift. You no longer long to be picked because you've already chosen yourself. You no longer feel the need to perform for love because you've remembered that you are love. And from this soft returning, a new reality begins to form. one built on inner strength, not outside approval. Many people move through life always reacting. Their hearts are shaken by every opinion, every new trend, every passing moment. But think of a mountain. It does not bend to the wind. It doesn't chase storms across the sky. It simply stands, quiet and firm, rooted in its own truth. This is what happens when your inner world becomes your true home. You stop giving up your peace for bits of approval. You stop handing over your worth just to please others. You start to listen to your own quiet wisdom instead of all the outside noise. Slowly, things begin to shift. You no longer run after alignment, because you are alignment. Your presence becomes your true strength. This isn't a path of loneliness, but one of deep return. You're not stepping away from life, but stepping fully into it, grounded and aware. The world will keep turning, people will come and go, situations will rise and fall, but your peace, held softly in your heart, becomes a steady place, a refuge that stays with you. Even when chaos is all around, you stay calm. Even in uncertain times, you remain steady. Even without applause, you feel complete. This is the quiet magic of true inner work. When you center yourself, not in fear, not in the need for approval, but in truth, you become unshakable. Close your eyes for a moment. Place your hand over your heart and gently whisper, "I am home." Notice what shifts when your own presence feels like enough. Notice what opens inside you when you stop reaching outward and begin receiving inward. The goal was never to run away from the world. The goal is to move through it with clarity, with calm, and with the fullness of who you truly are. Let others spin around drama and noise. You stay rooted in self-awareness, in quiet confidence, in a peace that doesn't need to prove anything. Ask yourself gently, what would my life feel like if I no longer needed to be chosen? Because I had already chosen myself. Sit with that question. Let it wash away old stories. Let it ease the ache for approval. Because the moment you become the center of your own world is the moment you realize you no longer need to beg for love, for belonging, or for acceptance. You are the source. You are the home you've always been searching for. This is the path of the awakened, and it doesn't begin with a step, but with a return inward. You've walked beside me through stillness, through sorrow, and through truth. You've shed the layers, not to become someone else, but to remember who you've always been. And now, the path ahead is yours to walk, not the loud one, not the one seeking applause, but the quiet one, the sacred return inward. You are not here to chase after the world. You are here to awaken within it. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are arriving exactly on time. So take a breath. Let go of the need to prove anything and begin to live from the center of your own soul. If this journey touched something within you, leave a comment below. You don't have to say much, just write, "I am returning home." Let it be your quiet promise to yourself. Let it mark a new beginning. And if you found meaning in these words, subscribe to Buddha's Eternal Wisdom, where every video is created as a mirror for your soul, a doorway to calm, clarity, and quiet transformation. Your journey is sacred, your voice matters, and your peace begins now.